G'day punters, this podcast is brought to you by Koala Karma, the chill out drink, the opposite of an energy drink. It's a great idea. Have one of these and you'll be mellow. So, on today's podcast is a very interesting lad called Whiteline Psycho. A legend in the rockabilly history of the Gold Coast, and he has left his mark on a million different things, and drinking wine, how about that, and building motorbikes, working on bikes. He's heavily involved in some of the coolest stuff on the coast. And hey, why am I boring you with this intro? I don't know, I don't want to do intros anymore. But you know what? To start this show off, I reckon we should hear a bit of swearing. Are you there, dog?
The word cunt or anything, but mate, I'm a lover of language, including the vernacular, the obscene, So if you want me, I'm from
Logan. I'm with you.
See, you got over it.
Yeah, but I told myself, I've been telling everyone I know yesterday, hey, guys, I'm going to try and stop swearing, because I find myself swearing to business side. People are just meeting business, and 5 minutes later I'm going, yeah, and then what am I doing? And then there's a certain sort of thing in.
I used to do it at fine wine lectures because I'm a bit of a wine wanker and certified and that sort of shit, man. And I'd find myself, describing a Gewürztraminer with tyres, a finger in a bum match and stuff, and people just go, chill the fuck out, man. Chill the fuck out. I'm trying to break down the barriers of wine snobbery, not build them.
This is excellent. All right, Whiteline Psycho. Dog Williams. We've already started, I reckon.
Yeah, let's go, man.
Yeah, mate. Can you feel it with headphones on?
I've got the vibe, but there's a lot of love in the room, Drew.
Yeah, I mean this, mate. It's like a religious experience. I'm not a religious person personally, but
neither am I.
Everyone that leaves,
what I can get.
Yeah, right. Well, you've got a shirt on that says church, which is actually Champion Sparkplug label.
Indeed, it's Mr. Jeff Wright from Church of Choppers, who is one of the most incredibly talented and diversely talented mofos I've ever come across. Not that I've met him, but I've been following his work for the last, mate, ever since Brad Pitt had his media moment with a fail on one of a church-built bike back in 2000 and whenever it was.
What did he do? I can't remember.
He forgot to turn on the gas or something, or whatever it was. Some beginner's failure. Yeah. And
with 20 million cameras on him, right?
Exactly, and the poor bugger was on a bike built by Church of Choppers out of Des Moines. And that's when I found out about Jeff Wright. And mate, he's just a talented dude. Tweaks shit perfectly, like that. The champion twist, does his own insane whatever planet he's on. Does his own insane inspired artwork. Builds great bikes. Runs a bar. Runs a tapas joint. Has had a legendary rock gig.
Does what he wants.
Exactly.
Isn't that great?
Exactly. And the whole thing with those guys, I don't know how we oh yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah. The whole thing is that between him and his partner, mate, they just love motorcycles. Right. They love the broader spectrum of motorcycles, which is what I've always been about.
Yeah.
So anyway, do
you remember your first bike?
I remember the first bike that I never had.
Yeah.
Because Mum, being an old school, hardcore Presbyterian lady who was the equivalent of most of my friends' grandparents' age, man, there was no way I didn't have flares as a kid. I didn't get a dragster. And there was no way in hell I was ever going to get a mini bike, going back to the late 60s, early 70s. But it was that classic case. The more she said no, the more I was determined to do it. And
okay.
So anyway, got an XR75, second-hand XR75 from Paskey on the Gold Coast back in 1977, which lasted about 6 months and went halves with a schoolmate.
When you say Paskey, what's that?
Donny Pask.
Donny Pask. So, yeah.
Legend local motorcycle.
So that family still, I think there's a Pask that has a ladies' clothing and...
Well, that's
there's some Pasks about.
Sean Pask is a legend in local hot rod and retro sort of bike circles. What's his name? Yeah, the fashion designer Pask. There's him, and there's several others. But yeah, long term, long-term local family.
Yeah. Wow. So 75.
And then my first road registered one was an 82 XR 250, and that was about in 85, and then Trumpies.
Yeah, that's what you got now.
No, man, I've got 3 fucking Harley Davidsons and a 1968 Honda 125 SS Twin. 3 Harleys, mate. The motorcycle I swore I'd never own.
Wow.
Ever.
Wow. I was go.
Having had a,
now you're hooked, right?
3 pre-75 Bonneville's, and then I had a 94 Speed Triple when they came out first, when I was working for the local, the then brand new Triumph dealer on the Goldie. And, yeah, mate, I just swore. I've always loved Harleys, but I just swore I'd never have one. And here I am with 3 of the things. One of them's getting turned into a chopper.
Yeah.
I've just picked up this gorgeous old 68 Jenny shovel, and I've got my purple penis, the 2010, the 2010 48 for an everyday work ute.
Wow. Wouldn't you say that, though, with that Church of Choppers and the boom of, say, cable TV and all that West Coast choppers, and that kind of made, or for me personally, it kind of made Harley Davidson cool, because before then, being a musician,
undoubtedly,
I was always doing gigs at bikie clubs, and to be honest, I was always going, man, where's the chicks? Like, to be honest, it was like a sleepy blues rock motorbike.
Yeah.
And I didn't think Japanese race bikes were particularly cool, but I grew up riding postie bikes. Yeah. So there was a bit of rock and roll to it.
Yeah, mate, one of the greatest motorcycles ever made.
But seriously, yeah. Well, to me, that's kind of rock and roll and fun. That's fun, and there's no rules to a bike like that. But at the time, say 10, 15 years ago, Harley Davidson had this cloud of something sort of... they were cool, like, Evil Knievel. There was definitely something about it, but I could see what you mean.
The thing that, to me, as an amateur historian, the thing that changed up until the advent of the Evo in 84, mate, Harleys had been the domain of old school traditional bikers and those that were pretty much outside of the mainstream of society, just like old Triumphs were, old Beezers were, and all of that sort of shit. Then the Evo came along, and all of a sudden, just a couple of years after the buyback took place, so they were no longer owned by AMF, they were owned by Harley Davidson, led a lot by Willie G. Davidson and a whole bunch of other people from within Harley. But anyway, the thing that happened with the Evo was that all of a sudden they became a little bit more user-friendly. Right. And it started this resurgence in their perception in the marketplace, and particularly amongst all the young, upwardly mobile professionals and that sort of stuff. So all of a sudden, guys started that would never have gone near a motorcycle shop, let alone a Harley dealership, were buying up Softails and Heritage Softails and blah, 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 blah. And, belt drive and all that sort of shit. They didn't fling oil off and get you all grubby and dirty. And then what you mentioned, the advent of cable, I think what also happened as far as the stuff that we're into, the old, I hate the term old school, but call it what you will, retro, old school, traditional, authentic, whatever. Yeah. As far as that style of Harley goes, I think the thing that really kicked it in the arse was almost the equal and opposite reaction of OCC in particular and West Coast Choppers to a lesser degree, but certainly OCC, because, mate, I remember just being absolutely dumbfucked when I saw that shit on television. I thought, this this is just ridiculous. These are not what choppers should be about. And I've never, I'd never wanted a chopper, but I've always dug them and always sort of followed the
Easy Rider and
going back to that and way before that. The whole cut down to bobber to chopper to whatever through history since before World War II, and all of a sudden, I think there were a lot of guys the world over that had already been into, say, guys my age that rode the rockabilly revival in the very early 80s and had always been fascinated by traditional cars, bikes, old school rock and roll, punk rock, whatever it was. Those guys saw that show and thought, nah, we've got to get away from this. And that coincided with a smaller group, primarily in the States, led by crew like Dave Freston and others all around the place in the mid-90s that were really reviving, not so much reviving, but getting out there and riding old motorcycles, old Harleys. Yeah. And as an equal and opposite reaction to that OCC thing, I think people desperately wanted to rediscover the real function-born bike that chopping and bobbing and all that sort of shit was ostensibly all about. And
maybe OCC sort of, to me, they spelt it out. They went, look, we're taking a motor off here, off this rack. We're taking this seat over here off this rack, and just spelt it out. But they didn't really highlight riding them in that show, did they?
But you couldn't, man, because they were so unrideable.
Yeah, 1 litre tanks.
They were behemoth, ugly, gratuitous, hideous, fucking malodorous things. I mean, that's what I'm saying. All the billet and the bling, and for anybody that had gone through, anybody that was into cars and rods and all that sort of shit during the 90s, we'd already been through having to confront that whole billet bling, where flames suddenly became stylized drops of water, and those peachy salmon colours and pastel blues and all of that sort of shit. And they were just dragging it into a two-wheel concept. I remember seeing the Hot Wheels, because I used to collect Hot Wheels manically. Awesome. Yeah. But in the late 90s, they brought out this really big, fat-ass little chopper. And it was cool because it was so radical to anything that was about. And then all of a sudden, everybody is almost like mimicking the Hot Wheels bike. And that's where it came to, with 250, 300 mil rear tyres and just unrideable rubbish. And I detest that. I always have. I've always hated fripperies and add-on shit that doesn't mean stuff.
Yeah, you're right when you say it. The show got so popular that it sort of it opened the eyes to guys that go, I love what they're doing, but actually I love what they're doing, and I'm going to put it into things I really like, but can ride, and we can have some good times with it.
Look, I think it just basically spawned a whole bunch of copyist bandwagon jumpers and all of that sort of thing, the hula hoopers, the yo-yoers and all that sort of stuff, thankfully most of whom have now fallen by the wayside. And I'm not disputing that some of them might have been actually producing real good quality work. Billy Lane from Choppers Inc. is probably one glaring example of that, where his engineering, his building prowess and all of the attendant things that make a great artisan or a great builder of anything, they were all exceptional. But by and large, mate, I'm glad that it bit the dust. I really am.
Yeah.
Sorry to anybody out there who happens to own one, but, it's not terminal and there's a chance you might get over it.
I love it now, because I look at the iron resonance shop that's over here. I'm going to say it, but I've got loads of mates that were in these bike clubs. But it's kind of really cool that I don't think that shop could actually be there today if there was this suburb used to be full of bike clubs.
It did, man.
And that it carried with it that certain chopper riding and the bullshit that comes with it, we can't have fun in this club kind of stuff.
Well,
but now you can. Now you've got a whole different bobber riding rock and roll cats that are just going, no, we want to ride.
Man, I was lucky to be part of an independent motorcycle workshop during the first half of the 90s called Classic Bike Tune. We used to be in Taree Street in Burleigh Junction there. And our specialty was classic bikes, as you might imagine. So it was classic Brit bikes, classic Jap bikes, classic Euro